Lacson to sponsor the measure.
Only the Dangerous Drugs Board? or
Together with the Philippine Drug
PDEA?
Enforcement
Yeah.
Agency. With the permission of the body, we can take the two bodies
Together.
together. Yes, Mr. President.
Yes. Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is in order.
And I'll just
We,
switch with you, Mr. President. I know you would like to ask
yes, I
questions.
would like to yield the chair to the Majority Leader. Hindi na.
Okay po. We now like to recognize the distinguished Senate President, Senator Tito Soto to Vicente Soto III to interpolate the budget.
Before that, Mr. President,
Yes,
may I just present
Chairman?
the proposed
Yes,
budget
Senator
of the
Lacson.
DDB and PDEA?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. President. The proposed new appropriations for the Dangerous Drugs Board for fiscal year 2020 is 553.661 million pesos. From 283.6 million in the National Expenditure Program, it was increased under the General Appropriations Bill as transmitted by the House to 533.6 million. And the Senate added another 50 million, 20 million to augment the fund for the program monitoring and evaluation of the Philippine Anti-Illegal Drugs Strategy or PADS. So, having said that, Mr. President, this representation is ready for interpolation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will my other BFF, distinguished gentleman from Cavite, answer some questions in aid of the budget of the DDB and the PDEA, Mr. President?
Most welcome from the distinguished Senate President, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start off with a review of the briefing materials that the Committee on Finance gave us. The DBM's recommended budget for DDB was for the fiscal year 2020 is 54.86% lower than the DDB's requested budget. May I know what particular projects were affected by the decrease by the DBM, and will this decrease affect our or the country's war on drugs, Mr. President?
Because, the only reason, Mr. President, for the reduction of the budget is the non-recurrence of the budget for the nationwide survey. That's now being conducted by the DDB in the amount of 70 million pesos, Mr. President.
But in their request for the 2020 submission to the DBM, you mean this was included already, or this was not included?
This is a non-recurring item under the DDB budget because this was funded under the 2019 or the current year budget of the DDB, Mr. President.
Oh, so the funding for 2020 is no longer necessary.
That is correct, Mr.
All right.
President.
Sir, 444 million.
For 2020, it's no longer necessary.
444 million yung nawala dun sa request po nila.
But based on the request of the DDB, 444 million was cut by DBM in their request. 70 million lang yung sa sa survey. Ano po itong naapektuhan?
Asan yung mga items na nasa yung as per your request? Which one? That is also correct, Mr. President. Under Tier 2, no? Under Tier 2, ang mga maapektuhan po dito yung upgrading, repair of DDB offices in the amount of 10 million pesos. Replacement of outdated, old, and broken fixtures and furniture, and the amount of 8 million pesos. Career Performance Development Program, 1 million pesos. Production of digital materials for Drug Enforcement Portal, 2.73 million pesos. Yun lang. Those are the projects to be adversely affected by the reduction.
But then again, it doesn't even reach 100 million, Mr. President. But
Also, the
400
National Communication Plan for the
400
PADS.
Oo.
Also, the National Communication Plan for the PADS.
O yan, magkano yun? Magkano yung tinanggal? Will be affected.
400 million. As a matter of fact, Mr. President, the Subcommittee C proposed an additional 200 million pesos to support the institutionalization of the PADS. Kasamaan pala, 20 million lamang yung na-adapt ng Mother Committee. Anyway, Senator Angara is here.
That's a very sad note, no, Mr. President, because by virtue of the executive order issued by the President, Executive Order 66, if I'm not mistaken, October 2018 ang date. The DDB was, of course, designated to be the lead agency in the implementation and institutionalization of the Philippine Anti-Illegal Drugs Strategy, or PADS. It directs all government offices, departments, bureaus, agencies, and offices, including government-owned and controlled corporations and state universities and colleges, to implement the PADS in accordance with their respective mandates. Malawak ito, and we would like to know the current implementation of the PADS, why they had to cut a big chunk of the amount allotted to this and only 20 million. Parang, ano to, patalo?
Most of the budgetary requirements of the PADS are already incorporated in the budgets of the agencies that are involved in the PADS effort, Mr. President.
All right, then in that case, we would like to know the current implementation of the PADS and how these different agencies, corporations, government entities are doing the mandate given by AO 66.
Actually, they're now in the process of cascading the training requirements do sa mga units kasi they were adversely affected by the delay in the passage of the budget for this current year, Mr. President.
Well, perhaps a better question is directly to the DDB, a point-blank question. Are all the agencies covered by EO 66 implementing the plan and operational plans of PADS? Sumusunod ba lahat?
Yeah, yung different levels, they're already aware of their mandate. Pero yun lang, they're still in the process of cascading or making them aware. The other units, Mr. President. But by and large, aware na yung mga units involved in the implementation of the PADS.
They are aware, but I will take
Meaning
it
they
that
know how to
because
do-
delayed yung budget last year, baka iba yung sitwasyon ngayon, but do we expect a better implementation this year?
For next year, yes, it's
I mean,
ongoing,
next year.
Mr. President. Ang
Okay.
naapektuhan lang kasi na-delay yung pag-download ng budget saka yung sa training din, yung implementation because na-delay nga yung passage ng budget.
Okay. Now, ito kasi, ang pinanggagalingan nito, isa sa mga provisions na nilagay natin sa 9165. Ano? And,
Anyway, Mr. President, the DDB is committing to submit a comprehensive report
Yun,
for your
please.
information and
Because-
for the information of the body.
Because I would like to, I'm very much interested in a report submitted to you by DOL, by the Department of Labor, on the drug-free workplace program and the drug testing program. Have they submitted already, the Department of Labor?
That will be included in the comprehensive report which they promised to submit within the week, Mr. President.
All right. Okay, we will await for that report, Mr. President. Now, as you mentioned earlier, there was a 70 million allocation last year, no, for the nationwide survey and the extent of drug and drug abuse. May we know the result of the survey?
It will be out in the first quarter of next year. They are now awaiting the result of the actual data gathering, Mr. President. The field work will commence
I suppose the field work
first week
has
of December.
commenced. Huh? Has commenced or will commence?
Will commence
Will commence.
first week of December. Kaya yung data gathering will immediately follow, and give or take siguro mga 1 week or 2 weeks, they will be able to collate and give us or announce the result first week or first quarter of next year.
We had when I was the Dangerous Drugs Board Chairman, we had a survey conducted to that effect, no? May we know this proposed survey that will be doing or are doing right now, how is this going to be conducted? Ano to, paano to? Household survey, the ILG, or a new tact?
Yeah. Household survey, Mr. President, 9,300 respondents, they'll be tapping the DSWD. So
I see.
by regions ito. So extensive yung survey na gagawin. So I guess they'll come up with an accurate result of the survey.
DSWD this time, ah? Before kasi DILG.
DSWD.
Ginamit namin, DSWD, all right. That
PSA.
will await the result.
Also PSA, Mr. President.
There is a substantial increase in the advertising expenses. I don't mind that. In fact, you should do more. Anyway, if you were to assess the drug abuse prevention and control program of the agency, I'm not talking about the enforcement side. I'm talking about the prevention and control program of the board. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we now as of 2019?
Sorry, Mr. President.
On a scale of 1 to 10, sa drug abuse control and prevention program,
Not
saan tayo?
hesitating, 8, Mr. President.
8,
Yes, Mr. President.
and possibly
without
10.
hesitation, without mental reservation, with conviction.
All right. We will accept that coming from you. Now, would DDB now have an idea on how many drug dependents there are admitted in rehabilitation centers? I'm sure you would have a report. How many drug dependents are in the rehabilitation centers, both the private and government rehab centers?
Number of admissions, 2,211. That's for 2019, for the current year.
Oo.
As of June 2019, Mr. President.
All yan.
Itong total number of admissions sa 2019, as of June 2019.
That is both
Sa mga government-owned
private,
hospitals.
government lang yan.
Government lang.
What about private?
Meron ba tayo? Combined na po ito. Government-owned, DOH managed, saka LGU managed. Pati yung non-government owned. Ang total niya, ito na yan, 2,211.
Alright. Dapat yung United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, pag i-report nila, ilan na drug dependent sa Pilipinas, 2,211 lang.
Baka po hindi nagpaparehab yung iba.
Hindi, even though, what I mean is, why I'm saying this, I attended a United Nations Office on Drug and Crime convention in Vienna, Austria. And the reason I attended was the UNODC was saying that in their report, there are 10 million drug dependents in the Philippines. So I called for a meeting, I attended the meeting, and I was really surprised at the figures that this United Nations office was blurting out. And it was in the report. And I asked them, how many drug dependents are there in China? There are over 1 billion people in China. How many drug dependents do they have? Ang sinabi, if I'm not mistaken, Yusek Reyes, less than 500,000, There are less than 500,000 drug dependents daw in China. Billion na tao nila. Sabi ng UNODC. And I asked them, why? Where did you get those figures? And they said, those are the drug dependents in the rehabilitation centers in China.
Ito from previous.
Abay kako, kung doon bibilangin, ang Pilipinas, 1,000 lang. Because during that time, 1,000 lang. The 2,200, that's why we should be very careful with the relationship with the United Nations, especially the UNODC. Parang iba ang dating eh. At they believe what they read in the newspapers. Kung ano nabigay na report.
144.
Yun na kagad. Kaya nasisira ang pangalan ng bansa natin. Now, based on the mortality and morbidity rates in the research of the DDB related to drug abuse in the country, and such factors that you may consider, what is the extent of the drug problem as far as drug abuse is concerned?
Actually, Mr. President, itong 2,211, ito lang yung mga na-admit for rehabilitation. Siguro mga severe cases ito. But there are those who are being, hindi naman rehabilitated, pero ito yung community-based rehabilitation program, 144,000 ito. Na yung iba, mga user na hindi na bumalik, pero patuloy pa rin sa drug prevention program na rin, para hindi na sila bumalik. So, ang total nito, 144,174 as of September 30, 2019. Pero yung mga na-admit lang do sa government-owned, non-government-owned hospitals, yun yung 2,211, which is a marked improvement from, of course, hanggang June 2019 pa lang ito. Pero 2018 kasi 5,400. So, kung i-assess natin ang yung sa drug problem, there's a marked improvement actually, Mr. President.
All right, very good. I understand also that the DDB, do you have a drug information portal? I think it's an active or interactive online portal that makes information more accessible to the public, and it can trigger the creation of new, knowledgeable, and understanding the anti-drug campaign. Can we access? How can an individual access the portal of DDB, drug information portal of DDB?
They continue to improve the system, Mr. President. Right now, meron naman ongoing yung sa kanilang tinatawag na DIP, Drug Information Portal. Interactive online portal that will trigger creation of new knowledge and understanding of the anti-drug campaign. Of course, yung information, backed by sector depending on their needs and interests, Mr. President.
So, can I access it? Let's say, can an individual access it? Access the
It's
information
open to the
through
public, accessible.
DDB website.
Accessible to the public.
Accessible through the
Yes,
DDB website, huh?
Yes, Mr. President. Merong may direct access, meron ding nakalink sa DDB website. So either through the DDB website, you can access it. Meron ding independent access doon mismo sa portal na sa DIP. Ito yung nasama doon sa sa nawala sa Tier 2. So I guess we should all consolidate our efforts to have this restored, Mr. President. Kasi natanggal ito eh. Magkano yun?
So, walang funding ngayon yan for 2020?
Million. Roughly mga 2.7 million lang.
Naku, Diyos ko naman. Dapat na ibalik agad yun.
Natanggal nga eh.
We will get to that. As a matter of fact, I am also concerned about your advertising expenses. There's an increase of 2 million, pero 9 million.
Yung budget.
Ano total ng advertising expenses ng DDB? Nakaprogram sa inyo?
Million. Mga 9.2 million for 2019.
Siyam na 30-seconder lang yun.
That is correct. That's why in-improve nila yung portal para rin sa information campaign nila.
Yeah, through the social media. But again, based on the latest pulse survey that I have read, 80 to 82% of the information that people get nationwide is from television.
Yeah, that is correct. Because
Television
every other,
ang pinakamatinding medium. 2%, 2 to 3% na social media, 2 to 3% na newspapers, ganun lang eh. Di ba? So, perhaps we can look into this also, Your Honor, Mr. President. The advertising expenses, the portal, budget for the portal, and then you have a new locally funded project, which is the upgrade of audio-visual equipment and board meeting facilities in the amount of 2.8 million. 2.8. Tinanong ko na ito dati during the hearing and I'm going to ask again this question. Because in Section 79 of Republic Act 9165, of which I am the principal author of in the Senate, and the principal author in the House is the presiding officer now, Senator Subiri, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act, it says there that the board shall meet once a week or as often as necessary. Hindi ang ibig sabihin nun pabawas. Ang ibig sabihin nun padami. So, what is the frequency of the meetings now? It has always been so low.
for this year, they had conducted 8 meetings, board meetings, Mr. President.
Dapat 2 buwan lang yun. If we will follow the law, 2 buwan lang yun. Is it still the same problem, quorum?
That is the same perennial problem.
Yung department secretaries hindi umattend,
Hindi nag-attend.
Papadala ng USEC, hindi rin nagpapadala ng USEC.
Director
Di ba?
pinapadala. Minsan
Director.
clerk.
Minsan clerk. Hindi counted yun sa quorum. What do you suggest so that we can encourage the conduct of more board meetings? Kasi dyan talaga nanggagaling yan. Even the interagency committee that the Vice President is co-chairing now with the Director General Aquino, they take their cue from the Dangerous Drugs Board.
They're actually proposing to, para ibaba na lang yung level sa hanggang ASIC level para maging realistic. And, meeting 8 times for this year doesn't mean that they're not active because the subcommittees are regularly meeting also.
Pero in the 17 board members, may we ask from the DDB, perhaps you can make a study, sino-sino ba talaga importante na lang dyan? When I originally proposed that, the Dangerous Drugs Board, in the law that we passed, konti lang yan, 11 lang talaga yun dinagdagan ng mga kapwa ko senador. Dapat isama daw yung taga-Department of Trade. Dapat daw isama yung taga-DepEd. Dapat daw isa. Sa kagustuhan ko ipasemba, tas tanggap naman ako ng tanggap. Di ba? Kaya later on, I realized na unwieldy. So ano ba talaga ang crucial? Anong pinaka-importanteng kasama ng DGB sa board meetings? PDEA. Di ba? Tapos yung representative appointed by the President, ano tawag doon? Ha?
IBP representative.
O yung IBP.
Mga NGOs.
NGOs. Sa departamento, sa mga government department. Ano importante? Ano
Actually, it's
crucial?
concern-based, Mr. President. And depende, situational din eh. Kung yung parang sign of the times, kung ano yung importante for this particular period of time, then doon ang focus.
Oh, doon na lang pwedeng imbitahin siguro yun because perhaps we can recommend an amendment, ano? Kung hindi kaagad na matatanggap nila at hindi nila makuha kaagad yung sense ko nung gusto kong i-upgrade yung PDEA into an authority and the Dangerous Drugs Board into one big authority, siguro ang pinakamaganda dyan para masolve din natin yan is i-amend natin muna that particular section, section 79. Bawasan natin. Ang crucial lang talaga, PDEA, DOH, DILG, baka pwedeng pwedeng 7.
Justice.
GOJ, correct? Yun na. Lahat ng laman na nakakaintindi ng enforcement, prosecution, rehabilitation, prevention, alternative development, international linkage. Oh, yun na lang.
Pero
Ngayon,
according-
pagkasabi ni, as our sponsor said, kung merong kailangan, let's say about issues on labor, o patawag na ng Department of Labor. Di ba? Magiging constant at magiging regular sigurado ang board meetings nito. At saka pulso. Yung pulso malaking bagay ang pulso rito eh. Your Honor, what do you think? Limit natin sa 7.
Yeah, they will, they're taking note of the
All right.
observation of the Senate President.
Alright.
Although as of now, they see the involvement of all the 12, na importante rin talaga. Kaya lang, recommendation lang, to be more practical,
Yes.
ibaba na lang sa ASEC yung level ng mag-a-attend. Kasi even the USEC, medyo hirap sila eh. And
Pwede rin yun eh. Pero I've seen it eh. You know, when I was DDB chair, I made it a point at least once a month. At least once a month. Naghihintay pa kami. Naghihintay pa kami para magka-quorum. Ang tindi ng tardiness. Tapos ang palusot, sir, maraming trabaho rin sa mga department eh. Ganyan. Pero kung yung 7 lang, na talagang ang concern ng 7, yun ang talagang, nasa damdamin at saka nasa kalooban nila yung dangerous drugs eh. Yung mga agency na yun eh. DOH, DILG, DOJ, PNP or DILG. Mga ganon. Yun talaga. Sila yung mga main eh. Anyway, we can take it up some other time, but
that is correct.
I was just
Baka
thinking
hindi
that...
kayo magaling manakot, Mr. President. Hindi ka
araw?
masyado magaling manakot. I remember when I was in charge of Yolanda, whenever I called for a meeting, nandun yung mga department secretaries. They were attending.
sanay kang... no, I don't. Please, strike it off the record what I said.
Secretariat so ordered.
Now, for the PDEA and also, of course, the DDB, there was a presentation by a foreign company on a new type of drug testing. Kasi yung drug testing sa ngayon, usually, generally, ihi mo. Di ba? And you will not know the result kaagad. Kung tutuusin yan, yung mga sa driving license, kaya natin inalis yun eh. Lokohan eh. Di ba? Papahiin ka, kunwari, nanonood pa yung nagpaihi sa'yo. Tapos, papasok sa kung saang kwarto. Paglabas, binibigyan ka na ng permit. Hindi ganun kabilis yun. Pumunta ka sa PDEA, magpakuha ka ng drug testing, it takes a while. It really takes some time. Kung talagang gusto mong accurate, lalo na kung yung 7 types, at hindi yung karaniwan na ihilang, yung 7 types na drug testing. Matagal yun. And then sometimes, because of the transporting from another hand to another, Kahit labeling ay maayos, pwedeng may mangyari. Ngayon, merong Turkish company that came out with a new drug testing kit na isusubo sa'yo, paglabas, isasaksak doon sa equipment, in 8 minutes, alam na kung ano tinira mo o kung wala kang tinira na droga. At ang tagal, let's say, kung shabu, 1 buwan. Kahit 1 buwan ka nang hindi gumamit, lilitaw. Pagka marijuana, kahit 1 week, lilitaw. Ngayon, this new type of drug testing is compact, kung saan nadadala. Ngayon, my question is, does the DDB or the PDEA have a budget for this type of new drug testing kits?
Right now, wala, Mr. President, kasi bagong technology, but they're willing to pilot test randomly, and they're even willing to help them secure the license to operate and yung certification of product registration with the FDA. Kasi kung wala FDA certification, baka mahirapan silang gamitin officially. But right now, they're seriously considering the pilot testing.
Pilot testing. That's
Yes,
good.
Mr. President.
While in the I think they're in the process already of getting an FDA accreditation. No? But the point is, perhaps we should include already in the budget of the DDB and the PDEA the budget for the procurement of this. So just in case it is approved by the FDA, they can do a test for 2020, and if it is really reliable and accurate, then we can have the other departments and the other bureaus.
The total
take it
estimated
up.
cost is only 23 million. I think we can look for the source of this augmentation,
Oh, yes.
Mr. President.
So the proposal is to pilot test it, and the cost would be approximately 23 million.
No, not the pilot testing. Yung mismong estimated cost for the implementation. For the
Implemented,
purchase, yung initial.
implementation
for
na.
next year. So maliit lang naman. I think after the pilot test, and kung maganda yung resulta, at least meron ng budget for 2020.
Okay. Hopefully, Mr. President, we can propose an amendment to this effect.
Yes,
No,
Mr.
to
I will
add an
support
additional-
the amendment, Mr. President.
Thank you. So, in effect, we will be, adding some for their advertising expenses, for the portal, for the portal, and then the drug testing equipment to come up with an experiment or a trial. Yeah. All right. Finally, Mr. President, on the PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, the drug enforcement officers, under the drug enforcement officer, you have an authorized plantilla items of 1,962 only. However, only na nga yung 1,962, 238 remains to be unfilled. May we know what these positions are that remain to be vacant?
Mostly, anong position? Mga DO... Yun yung tinanong niya. Drug enforcement officers. That is correct, Mr. President. Yung drug enforcement agents.
Oo.
I remember for this year, during the budget deliberation last year, we added, di ba? Nag-augment tayo ng good for 1,000 ba? But they still lack drug enforcement agents. And for this year, unfortunately, hindi na-aprubahan yung proposed, as proposed under the NEP, hindi na nga na-carry. And then, ganun din. But we were able to augment also their budget in the amount of 1+ billion, 1.4 billion pesos. Kasi
For narcotic officers. For
lahat, maraming
enforcement officers.
silang mga request, Mr. President. But kasama yon, pati
Anong,
yung training.
yung graduates ng academy, How many graduates do you have every year?
Sa academy. Hindi, pero ilan yung in-expect na around 600, Mr. President. Yung mga
600
agent
a year?
trainees.
Huh?
Yeah, presently in training.
Presently in training. So approximately sa isang taon, mga ilang kaya ang gagraduate ng academy?
For 2018, 600. Pero ngayon, 400 plus for 2019.
So, hindi na siguro dapat maging unfilled itong 238 na to. At kung kailangan pa, pwede pa natin dagdagan, hindi po ba?
Pero ongoing pa rin yung recruitment program nila, Mr. President. At saka yung
Because I
kasamang
will
training.
always rely on a PDEA Academy graduate when it comes to presentation, investigation, intelligence work on dangerous drugs. Taka-focus talaga sila eh. No, with due respect to the other narcotic officers, no, pero pag graduate do sa academy, mas nakakasiguro ka na kabisado niya yung dapat gawin, ano, at hindi yung nangyayari sa kasalukuyan. Mga prosecutor, pag kinausap mo, ang sagot sa akin, mga banu daw yung mga pulis ko. Pag nagsasambit ng kaso, hindi raw marunong magsambit ng kaso. Nung tinanong ko yung mga pulis, ang sagot sa akin, hindi sir, yung mga piskal nyo nalalagyan. Saan ka lalagay doon? Hindi ba? Again, hopefully, the academy may produce more agents, no, for PDEA. And then, ano pa yung mga sa tingin natin ay makakatulong, Mr. President, Your Honor, being the sponsor of their budget, I'm sure we will be able to minimize the woes and lack of funding. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the gentleman from Cavite.
Thank you for the input, Senate President.
Thank you to the Senate President. We'll just switch. I'll just switch with the Senate President. Mr. President, 1 minute suspension.
Wala na. May mga ano pa, papasok pa sa individual amendments. Ano, submit nyo rin. Aaron, submit pa kayo ng para sa individual amendments para baka sakali mahabol pa sa balcony. Kasi minsan gano'n nakakadisgrasya eh.
Session resumed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President, no other member wishes to interpolate the Dangerous Drugs Board and PDEA. I just want to show, if possible, Mr. President, if I may be recognized, and with the permission of the sponsor, it's not an interpolation, but just an intervention. I would like to show you on the screen some facilities that we have in Bukidnon. It is underutilized to my dear sponsor. Maybe you can relate to the PDEA and the Dangerous Drugs Board. We have a 700 million peso facility donated by Friends of the Philippines Foundation for a rehab center. It's called the Wellness Center for Region 10, Your Honor. May we show it on the screen? I don't know if my staff is ready. Ito po siya, na turnover na po yan sa Department of Health. May we show other pictures, please? And the President went over to turn it over to the Department of Health. It's a beautiful facility. It's sprawling. It can take up to 600 patients to 700 patients per cycle. Yan po siya, ganda-ganda, parang resort. Ang problema, 80 lang po ang nasa loob. 80 people. There's only, I believe, only 80, last I checked, 80 patients being rehabilitated for such a large facility run by the DOH. I'm actually helping them in the DOH with their budget for items, but it is underutilized, sir. May we request the Dangerous Drugs Board? Baka, saan lahat po ng tokhang ng PNP? Libo-libo yung tinukhang sa Region 10, pero 80 lang ang nasa loob. Yeah.
Perhaps,
Yes, Mr. President.
Majority Leader, information dissemination is what is necessary because this is in Bukidnon.
Yes, sir, in
All right.
Malaybalay for Malaybalay.
My experiences before, is that when you have drug dependents from who are from Bacolod, they will not bring them to the rehabilitation centers in Bacolod dahil machichismis na sa mga kapitbahay at mga kamag-anak. So itinatago nila yan, pinapadala nila sa Dumaguete, sa Iloilo kung meron,
Yes,
or
para
wherever
hindi nahiya.
na meron. So if that is in Bukidnon at magandang ganyan, people from the other parts of Mindanao should know about this. And if they do, I'm sure they will bring their drug-dependent patients there.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, actually, this is the regional center. So yung mga taga Cagayan de Oro, malayo-layo na po yung Bukidnon, pwede na po nila itago yung kanilang mga pasyente dyan if they're
pwede rin.
nahihiya. Pero walang information dissemination, Your Honor. That's why I'm presenting this to the Dangerous Drugs Board because I know the Dangerous Drugs Board has a budget for drug
Advertising.
rehabilitation, advertising, and all. Sayang naman po yung facility. Pag tinanong mo naman yung DOH, wala naman po daw silang budget for information dissemination. Theirs is only for the running the facility and maintenance.
Mr. President,
yes,
a
Mr.
bit of
President.
information, just for the information of the Majority Leader. Alam niyo po, ito reflective ng magaling yung LGU do sa Bukidnon because hindi umabot sa severity. Kaya underutilized because sa community-based prevention pa lang, naagapan na. Besides, hindi pwede maging regional facility ito kasi yung proximity niya sa Cagayan de Oro, nauna na yon. So spillover na lang yung pumapasok dito.
Underutilized lang, Mr. Chairman. Sana, Mr. President,
The underutilized nga, not because hindi nagagamit yung full capacity, wala talagang nagpapa-admit kasi maganda nga yung programa. This is according to DDB, not according to me. I'm not here to please you, Mr.
yes,
President. Pero yun talaga yung reality sa ground. Pag
What-
magaling yung local government unit sa pag-attend doon sa community-based efforts doon sa drug prevention, wala talaga papasok. And we should be happy. We should not be, we should not feel sad na underutilized or na konti lang yung pasyente, 80 lang, pagkagandagan ng facility.
yes.
So, we should be thankful.
I'm hoping that's the case, Mr. President, because we'd like...
But that is,
That's a very good point. Yes,
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure mas
possible.
marami, kasi ang population ng Bukidnon po, Mr. President, is 1.5 million people. I doubt that there's only 80 drug users in Bukidnon. Alam ko marami pong drug users dyan. But whatever it is, I just wanted to put it to the consciousness of the Dangerous Drugs Board. Your
well
Honor.
taken, but that's their observation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Minority Leader then
Minority Leader
Senator
would like to-
Tolentino. They're both asking for the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did not intend to avail of the period of interpolation for PDEA and DDB, but the Majority Leader pointed out that in Bukidnon, he has an underutilized facility. A beautiful facility, looks like a... I think,
Resort.
This looks like a resort. Mr. President, if this is one end of the scale, the Iloilo Rehabilitation Center is on the other end of the scale. Aba wala man lang ni isang makapagpantay dyan sa building na Bukidnon. Talagang pinanganak po ng Panginoon ng ating Majority Leader. Now, because in Iloilo, Mr. President, I visited the Iloilo Rehabilitation Center only yesterday. Only yesterday. It's not because we have been called without basis, the most shabulized city, but indeed the rehabilitation center would need some upgrading. I wish we can dismantle some of the buildings here and move it to Iloilo, but let me put on record that the Iloilo Rehabilitation Center is maintained quite well. Malinis. I don't know kung nilinis na nila dahil darating ako, pero malinis po. And however, they lack dormitories because their present dormitories for about 100, and there are about 130 in those dormitories. So they have requested me if we can fund a dormitory for female rehabs. So that, and
dependence.
I will, I'm making this amendment when we get to the Department of Health budget.
Yeah.
Because these rehabilitation centers are under the Department of Health. Of course, understandably, when I propose that we rehabilitate the Iloilo Rehabilitation Center, the budget submitted to me was for all the rehabilitation centers. Hindi naman po. But anyway, so just to emphasize that indeed iba po ang treatment sa Bukidnon. Pinanganak ng Diyos ang ating majority leader. Kumpara po sa amin, we also need it equally, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
But actually, Mr. President, for the record, not a single centavos government funds for this. That's all private funds, sir.
And then-
700 million pesos donated by a foundation from
And then
Hong Kong.
they
Yes.
turned over to the DOH.
Yes, sir.
That we hope DOH will be running well.
That's exactly the point, sayang
You know,
po eh.
because
Can
like,
we be introduced to this donor?
Yes, sir. I definitely will introduce you
Thank
to
you
our
very
minority.
you know,
leader.
the point of the minority leader is very important because not a lot of people realize that a perfect rehabilitation center should be one big recreation center. It is not a jail. You know, a successful rehabilitation center should be one big recreation center. That's how to do it.
Yes.
Anyway, so the Senator Tolentino, you were
Yes, Mr.
asking
President.
for the floor.
Before we recognize Senator Tolentino, actually, this is so underutilized that we had requested the DOH to include mental health patients there.
Oh, yes, perfect.
Mental health
Yes.
patients, kasi sayang din eh. And you have psychiatrists,
Yeah.
psychologists, so yan po ang plano nila, which I'll take up during the
Correct.
budget of the DOH.
Thank you.
Senator
Senator Tolentino.
sir.
Yes, a manifestation, Mr. President. I agree with the good majority floor leader that this is underutilized, but I beg to disagree as regards the budget of the Department of Health, which I'm now manifesting that I will be questioning tomorrow relative to its communications budget, Mr. President. The Department of Health has a budget allocation for advertising expenses 622 million pesos. They got a 16% increase from their previous budget, which goes to show na hindi po na-advertise ng Department of Health na meron pala tayong ganito. And if I may add, Mr. President, there is even a new facility in Tagaytay which is a home for the aged. Bago naman po ito. Wala pa ho sa Pilipinas niyan. So, bukas po tatanungin ko ang Department of Health, and I'm serving notice, kung ano yung ginagawa nila doon sa kanilang communications budget. Just a
Alright.
manifestation, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. And the budget of the DDB fails completely as far as advertising is concerned. They have only 9 million. Dinagdagan pa yun nung lagay na yun. Oh, Senator Villar.
Senator Villar, Mr. President.
I just want to make a manifestation that we have the same problem. We built a
Las Piñas.
drug rehab facility which was inaugurated by the President last December. And now, up to now, there are no patients. But it is being operated by DOH, not by the drug rehab agency. I think the DOH is having a hard time operating our drug facilities. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, Senator
nagtataka ko
Lacson.
bakit nalulungkot silang walang pasyente doon sa ano. Ang ibig sabihin, walang severe cases na
Ayun.
nagpapa-admit.
I
So
see your
dapat
point.
matuwa sila dahil yung LGU, very efficient.
I see your point, but you know, knowing that there are more than 1.7 million drug dependents in the country, it is surprising that this is
Just
happening.
as an
Anyway,
intervention,
Manalo,
that is what the good sponsor postulates. The other theory is that baka po lahat sa Bukidnon, na biktima ng tukhang, nandun na sa ibang quarters. Wala po. Kaya po wala doon.
Baka nakalibing na. Anyway, Mr.
no,
President.
again, just one thing.
Yes, Mr. President.
To remind the DDB and the PDEA, siguro, isa sa mga dahilan dito, again, we are not giving enough focus on the problem of drug abuse. It is completely different from illegal drugs. Akala nila pareho yan. Hindi, magkaiba yun. Iba yung enforcement, prosecution ng illegal drugs at iba ang prevention and rehabilitation, which is drug abuse. It's a completely different animal pag tinignan mo. Eh yun palagay ko, hindi nabibigyan ng emphasis ng gobyerno. Nakatodo tayo sa enforcement. We are forgetting that there are over 1 million drug dependents na
Treatment,
dapat
oh.
yun eh, mag-focus ang
Sa
attention tayo.
treatment, Mr. President.
Just as a reminder.
Yes,
All right,
treatment.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. No other member wishes to interpolate the budgets of the Dangerous Drugs Board and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. I therefore move that the budgets of the two agencies be deemed submitted and approved. I so
All
move.
right, any objection? Hearing none, the budget of the DDB and the PDEA are hereby deemed submitted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we ask for suspension, may we ask the Office of the Ombudsman to be ready in the gallery, Mr.
All right,
President.
the Office of the Ombudsman will be next. The session is suspended.